the current rate of transfer portal entries is unsustainable for the future of college sports. In particular, we're talking about women's basketball in this stream. Okay, that's my overarching point. Now let's get into the specifics of why exactly I am saying what I am saying. So here's the deal. This is where we stand as of this exact moment when it comes to the transfer portal. This is where we stand. We have 1,300 players in the transfer portal, guys. 1,300. And I want to kind of put that into perspective because you hear, okay, 1,300. Is that a lot? Really? Is it? It is, guys. It is. It is a whole lot. We have 25% of women's basketball players in the transfer portal right now. It's more than 25%, actually. Guys, 1 out of every 4 women's college basketball players right now in college are in the transfer portal. 1 in 4. Teams are losing a bunch of players. Some teams are losing 8+ players to the transfer portal. Some are losing a huge portion of their starters. This is unsustainable, ladies and gentlemen. Unsustainable. And let's kind of talk through this. Okay? So the transfer portal has been around for a long time, but rules were changed because in the past players had to sit out a year. They had to sit out a year if they transfer. That was in the past, right? You transfer to another school, you have to wait a full season, and then the next season you can play. That changed a couple years ago where the rule changed to when you transferred, you were able to play immediately. You were able to play immediately. No issues, no ifs, ands, or buts. You want to transfer? Okay, go play. And initially, it was like, wow, this is exciting. This is fantastic. This is great. But as the years have gone on, we've seen more and more and more and more players enter the transfer portal every single year. And this year, we've reached a peak. We have reached a peak, a seismic shift in the game of women's basketball, of college women's basketball, where we see players leaving, feeling empowered to do what they would like, and go into the transfer portal and see what happens, right? We already saw 2 of the big notable players already into the transfer portal in Taniyah Latson and Olivia Miles. Taniyah is going to South Carolina and Olivia Miles is going to TCU. And you have teams that are looking to not get better from the incoming freshman class. They're looking to get better specifically from the transfer portal, right? And it's getting hard to have a consistent roster because your roster is changing over and over and over again. And during the season and towards the end of the season, you're basically kind of recruiting your current players to come back to play for you. That's kind of wild, guys. That is kind of wild. You have a team like an Ole Miss who, I mean, this is for the better, but this is a team that lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ole Miss lost 7 players. 7 players in the transfer portal this year. Now, they're gaining a lot of talent in the transfer portal. So net, this is not a loss. This is actually a huge gain for Ole Miss. However, my point is, though, if you are a Ole Miss fan, right? You live in Mississippi, you're an Ole Miss fan, like you love this team and whatever. You have season tickets and whatnot, and you've been excited to watch the growth of the players at Ole Miss. And all of a sudden, you go from one year to the next. You got 7 players gone through the transfer portal. Not through graduation, because you can understand that. Through the transfer portal. And now, I'm going to say it again, Ole Miss is at a way better place for this because the players who are coming out versus some of the players that they already got coming in, huge. Great thing for Coach Yo and Ole Miss. But my point is, though, there is no consistency for fans of the team because for the women's game especially, you're expected to see someone at the program for 4 years, because for the most part, college players stay for 4 years when it comes to women's basketball. And now you're starting to see this crazy year over year turnover where it's looking like it's more like professional basketball than college basketball. Let's get to Repeat Tour, aka Michael. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, you think some women's programs will adopt the St. John's Patino model, only focusing on mature portal players and stop high school recruitment? ? I mean, TCU has already done that. Yeah. I mean, Michael, TCU, as you've seen, they've done that. They're not recruiting freshmen. They're not looking to get freshmen. They're looking to get the portal. That's what they're looking to get. And they're getting mature players. They're getting players who understand how to navigate college hoops. You're getting players who need way less hand holding than freshmen. Like there's a whole thing. It's an absolute whole thing when it comes to the benefits of getting a player in the transfer portal. But those benefits come with some cons. Again, I already talked about the roster instability, because coaches are dealing, and college programs in general are dealing with unprecedented turnover year over year, making it hard to really maintain team cohesion and be able to develop long-term strategies. It's kind of hard when 1 out of every 4 players in women's college basketball is in the transfer portal. It's kind of hard to be able to have some cohesion on that front, right? And it puts a lot of pressure on recruitment. Whereas in the past, when the sole focus was really getting incoming freshmen in, the summer was very busy going to the various camps and whatnot that's happening, and looking at players that way. But now, with the transfer portal being the way it is, coaches in the postseason, in the NCAA tournament, are not only trying to coach their team to win games in the NCAA tournament, like actively focusing on the game, they also, at the same time, have to be working behind the scenes to make sure some of their best players don't get in the transfer portal once the season's over. And then also, they have to keep an eye out and have phone conversations, visits, and all that stuff from players who just entered the transfer portal. So it's like 3 things that coaches are doing when they only should really be doing 1, which is winning tournament games. This is because there is no GM right now in the women's college basketball game. Eventually, there's going to have to be a version of a GM, someone who can do all that recruitment stuff while the coach can just focus on being the coach for the NCAA tournament. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing that we are in right now. Interesting. Also, there's a lot of player uncertainty, because players, they run the risk of entering the transfer portal, a very saturated market with 25% of players also in it, and you got to secure a spot at a desirable team that preferably is more competitive than the last team you left. That's a lot to deal with, guys. And you are going to have players who entered the transfer portal on a team that maybe they had a decent amount of playing time, not that much, but maybe they wanted a bigger role or whatever. They enter the transfer portal, and there is guaranteed, guys, there will be people, once we're ready to start the 2025-2026 season, there will be people who went into the transfer portal, never found another team, and they were just done. You could withdraw your name and try to come back to your former team, but that's if they want you. Once you enter your name in the transfer portal, your scholarship is gone. If the team wants you back, then yeah, sure, you can get it back. But you say you're going in the transfer portal, they're like, okay, well, I gotta find somebody to fill your spot. And if you don't find another place to go, now you're on the outs. Because you wanted to explore how the grass is greener on the other side, but maybe no one wanted you because there's so many other players in the portal as well. Again, 25% of women's college basketball players are in the transfer portal. That's a lot of competition. In a small amount of time. Gwen, thank you so much for the super chat, says players that don't get picked up in the portal, ? Yeah, there are players who don't get picked up and they just don't have enough. They don't have a team. They can withdraw from the portal. As you can see right now, there's 12 players who withdrew their name from the portal. They can withdraw, but there's no guarantee that they can come back to their same team. It's up to the coach. Kay Jackson says, got to bet on yourself. Sometimes you do. But also, I think there is a sense of reading the room as well. And there's a sense of reading the room. And my last point, and then I'll move on to the WNBA. My last point on this is a question that I want to ask you all, and I want your feedback because I don't really know what I think about this. One thing that this transfer portal escalation, I want to say, has caused is the question that somebody put in the chat yesterday, and I loved the question so much I wanted to pose it to everybody. What does it mean to be an alumni? What does it mean? What does it mean to be an alumni? When we talk about, especially the women's game, there is so much celebration for where players came from, right? Like Diana and the huge connection she has to UConn, right? Candace Parker and Tennessee. Kelsey Plum and Washington. Caitlin Clark and Iowa. You get the picture. There are certain players that you just think of as the epitome of a certain school. And they live and breathe that program. And even when they graduate, even when they go to the WNBA, even when they go and do whatever they're going to do, they're still known by that team, right? When you think of Iowa, you think of Caitlin Clark. Maybe you think of Monica Sanano, right? You think of Megan Gustafson, right? That's what you think of. When you think of UConn, there's a whole bunch of players. Stewie, Maya Moore, Diana, Sue, like Paige Beckers now. There's so many players that you think of. But now, let's say Notre Dame. When you think of Notre Dame basketball, who do you think of? Skylar Diggins-Smith. You think of Arike Egumbawale. Do you think of Olivia Miles? Do you think of Olivia Miles? Like, is that someone that you think of? Because Olivia Miles, while she spent 4 seasons with Notre Dame, she's going to TCU. She's going to TCU as a grad transfer. Yes, sure, she holds a Notre Dame degree. Yeah, sure, she was with this team for a long time. But when we fast forward 10 years from now, and we're talking about where players played in college, will Olivia Miles be known for more of Notre Dame, or will she be known for TCU? Same question for Haley Van Lith. Haley Van Lith was known as a Louisville player. Louisville loved her. She decided to leave, go into the portal, and go to LSU. And it was like, okay, well, maybe LSU is going to be her home for now. And she's going to stay there for 2 years and whatever. But after 1 season with LSU, she entered the transfer portal. And now she just finished at TCU. So in her college career, she has gone through 3 teams. Which team, fast forward 5-10 years from now, which team is she known for? Is she known for her early days at Louisville? Is she known for LSU? Is she known for TCU? What is she known for? You can do this interesting dance with a lot of teams. A lot of players. You can do this because there's so many players who have entered the transfer portal 2 times. They've been on 3 different teams. Where do they stand? Where do they stand? That's a huge question. Brittany says, good question. This is like Dejanay Carrington feels about her time at Stanford as she really just repped Baylor. Yeah. This is a interesting question. Rizzle says, why can't you be known for multiple things? You can. I think it just makes it difficult to have the narrative in the future in terms of, so if y'all may have noticed in the WNBA, like here's what happens. Every single time we get towards the all-star break, WNBA playoffs, colleges post stuff that's like, 3 Lady Vols are in our WNBA All-Stars. Congratulations to our All-Stars, that type of thing. Or like South Carolina we're about to go into the playoffs, and South Carolina is posting a graphic that's like, six Gamecocks represent for the WNBA playoffs, that type of thing. Like, if we go in the future and Olivia Miles is in the WNBA playoffs, is Notre Dame going to put her on their graphic? Even though she didn't leave with that team? Like, I think there's overall some questions about this. So, that's a thing. Anyway, to sum up my point is that we are on a unprecedented trajectory for women's basketball. And I believe that the transfer portal, the way it is currently constructed, is unsustainable. Without intervention, this will crash, in my opinion. And this will undermine the integrity and the stability of women's college basketball. And it's important for the NCAA, colleges, and players themselves to collaborate together to figure out things that you can implement to allow for better team stability, allow for competitive equity, and allow for us not having this crazy dance at the end of a season where we have 25% of women's college basketball players in the transfer portal. This is unsustainable. This cannot continue to go because this is just going to continue to escalate. What are we going to have? 75% of college players, of women's basketball players in the transfer portal? Like, it's unsustainable. Yes, it is beneficial for certain teams. Yes, there are benefits for it. And yes, players should, if they want to leave, they should have an opportunity to do that. However, this is not something that helps to grow the game of women's basketball. This is why, in a lot of ways, women's basketball was on an upward trajectory because players, they were at a place for closer to 4 years where people were really able to connect with them, vibe with them, and now it's the trajectory and the changes is unsustainable, because we went from not very many people in the chat in the transfer portal every year to now 25%, 1,300 players. It's a lot. We'll see how things continue to go. Catrell says, thanks so much for the super chat, says, any move about Sarah Williams from Wisconsin? I don't know, actually. I am not sure. All right. I am not sure. Here, I can search and see. So Sarah has not committed to a team just yet. Thank you so much, I Care Too, for the super chat. Really appreciate you. Salute to you. Thank you so much, Michael, for the super chat. Says, gonna push back a little. Haley Van Lith won't be remembered for what school she went to. She'll be remembered for going to a bad spot than redeeming herself. I think her stock is higher now than ever before. Michael, I agree with you. Her stock now is higher than ever before. My point still is, when we fast forward several years from now and colleges, and it becomes a narrative about like where players came from, like what school they were at and whatever, it's a lot easier to tie, again, to my point, it's a lot easier to tie Candace to Tennessee, Diana to UConn, and so on and so forth. Like you get the picture, right? Sabrina Ionescu with Oregon. Like it's a lot cleaner to tie those people to those schools. Whereas now it's gonna feel like, yes, absolutely, Haley Van Lith did redeem herself. Absolutely. Like I think this was TCU was a way better fit. I think it helped her draft stock, all that good jazz. But when it comes to where does Haley Van Lith fit in terms of her college down the line, it's a question mark of where do they go? Like where do they fit? I guess where do they fit? But anyway, any way. Joycey says, it seems like kids are chasing money and championships. Not every team can be a champion. It needs to go back to when kids choose schools for their education to develop in basketball and happiness. Well, times have changed.